Whoa, look at that. It's a new giant demon model. Could that be the Primarch Fulgrim for a new Emperor's Children Codex? That would be super cool. Oh, no, just kidding. It's a Horus Heresy model. Sick.
Lots of you, I'm sure, would like to see him appear in Warhammer 40,000. Maybe he will one day, but until that time, you've got this beautiful model to use in your Horus Heresy games.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to Tactical Tortoise. My name is Trevi, and we just got off the Nova Open keynote presentation that was shown both at the Nova Open and on Twitch, and got a ton of new information, specifically about the new 10th edition Space Marine Codex for Warhammer 40k. Over the last couple days, we've been talking a lot about the Tyranid Codex and getting spoilers and new datasheets for that one, and just after that, we are expecting the release of the updated Space Marine Codex, and we got a ton of information about new units being either resculpted or added into the codex, and as well as some of the detachments that we can expect to see in that codex. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk about some of the new models that we're getting for Space Marines first. A lot of units are getting resculpted, including things like the Terminator Squad, which got a new scale update with the Leviathan box set to bring them in line with the Primaris scale. So we are getting a new, what looks like a standard Terminator kit. It doesn't look like it builds into Assault Terminators, but you can reconstruct your standard Terminators using this new set with a lot of new options and weapon loadouts. In addition, there is also a character to go along with them. The new Terminator Chaplain is able to equip a Storm Shield, a weapon that, to my knowledge, Terminator Chaplains have not had access to in the past, but makes sense for a dedicated melee character like him. He's going to get up close and personal and bog you down with a bunch of wounds thanks to that Storm Shield added defensive benefit. On top of that, Terminators aren't the only classic unit that is getting a re-release with the new codex. One unit that a lot of people shed a tear for when the announcement came that they were moving to Warhammer Legends is the classic Scout Squad. We did just get the announcement that they are being re-released with a new Primaris profile. This is very similar to the Black Templars Neophytes that we've seen in the Crusade Squad kit. They have basically the same proportions and aesthetic, but they still look like classic Scouts. In addition, a lot of these Scout mechanics are being retained within the unit. Looks like they're going to have basically the same allotment of weapons as a standard Scout Squad, with a combination of close combat weapons, bolters, and shotguns, as well as heavy weapons like missile launchers and heavy bolters available to them. That said, it does also appear that Sniper Scouts, or at least the Sniper Rifle armed model, is now a heavy weapon upgrade for the unit, not a separate unit in and of itself. So it looks like the classic Sniper Scouts with camo cloaks are probably going the way of the Dodo, but we're still going to be able to use Scouts, with most of their mechanics remaining identical to the Index, as was discussed by the hosts of the presentation. We also got a new unit of Stern Guard veterans. These guys are, again, very similar to the ones coming out of the Leviathan set, but have some new sets of special weapons, including what looks to be a twin-linked Pyre Blaster. It might just be a different mark of a heavy flamer or something like that, but it is a new weapon that I don't believe that we've seen before.
According to the Warhammer community article, it's a weapon called a Pyre Cannon, so probably a better version of a Pyre Blaster.
Otherwise, these guys do look like an upgrade from the units that were included in the Leviathan set, but not too much else to say about them. On top of that, we also got some brand new releases, including something that Space Marine players have been begging for absolute years, a jump pack equipped Tacticus armored unit. These guys are finally able to take to the skies with a jump pack without having to don Gravis armor and become an Inceptor. It kind of feels like they were waiting for the release of the Space Marine 2 gameplay footage to actually show these guys off. These guys look relatively generic. It looks like they just have a standard selection of weapons, chain swords and bolt pistols, as well as a couple special weapons for the Sergeant, but they also come with a new Primaris Captain, a Primaris Captain with a jump pack who has a much wider variety of weapon options available. Honestly, the jump pack Captain model is absolutely gorgeous. He looks super cool, and according to the hosts, a little bit of a grain of salt here, but has a lot of different options that come in the kit to construct different looking captions and make them. In addition to that, we also got a Primaris-sized command squad. These guys have traditionally been mini Marines, the original Firstborn Marine, and are units composed of different command elements like apothecaries, chapter champions, and company ancients. This new Primaris command squad has as that chapter champion, but we also see some really interesting inclusions. One model has a bionic arm. There's a guy with a heavy bolter who is my favorite. The heavy bolter he's carrying is absolutely badass, as well as a company ancient. This kit is also a reinvention of the classic Space Marine command kit, which also had a captain inside it. And it looks like this is very similar to the jump pack captain, going to be a heavily customizable captain model so that you can construct your own characters for your Space Marine army. According to the commentary, the command squad is an attachment unit for captains or chapter masters and potentially has its own aura effects. The commentator specifically mentioned them buffing nearby units, and whether that is a capacity of the captain itself or something that the command squad confers to them, I would be very interested to see. And with that, the only questions remaining for the new Codex Space Marines are the detachments that we are getting within it. And I'm just going to leave it up to the commentators from the presentation to discuss the detachments themselves.
The big one here, of course, is that there are more detachments on the way. We've seen detachments already for the new Tyranids that came around before, but the Space Marines are going to get new ones as well. Of course, there's the Gladius Task Force, which we know and love from the index cards. That's in there as well. But also, there's a whole bunch of new detachments that lets you focus your army the way you want to. Now, previously we would have had stuff like rules for Iron Hands or rules for Salamanders or White Scars, but rather than having chapter-specific rules now, we've actually gone for the detachments, which sort of hint heavily towards one of those chapters, but don't say you have to use them. So, for example, we've got one detachment that's all about using tech marines and vehicles, another one that's about close-quarter shooting, another one that's all about using fast vehicles to get forwards and fight, or even sneaking around in the background with sort of your vanguard troops. So you can customize your army any way you like. So you can have sort of an army of Ultramarines bikes with the rules for an army of bikes, but they don't have to be White Scars, if it makes sense.
So you don't
cool.
feel bad for having the wrong colour on the battlefield, or by hamstringing yourself into using the wrong rules, I guess, for your army. So certainly if you do have an army like White Scars or Salamanders or Iron Hands that's already lent into the theme, there is a detachment for
100%.
you. But equally, if you're like, you know what, I really like red Space Marines, but I also really like tanks or flamers or something, you can absolutely kind of lean in that direction and make the army work for you.
Which is a really nice little tweak to change here. You can build your army any way you like, which leans, of course, into how many different options there are. And just look at that picture. You can build your army any way you like at all, with any of the miniatures, and there is going to be one of the detachments for you. My favourite one's going to be the First Company Task Force, Eddie. All about the veterans and the Terminators coming down, which you can also see the new Terminators and the new Stern Guard are perfect for, and they're all in there. Every detachment has its own stratagems and enhancements as well, just like the Tyranid book does, which leans into the style of warfare that you're going for. So yeah, it's super exciting, and it's just around the corner as well.
Yeah, coming in the next few weeks. Not too long at all to wait for that one.
Can't wait to play some games with that.
So it looks like we are going to be getting themed detachments for every specific Codex compliant Space Marine chapter. Each of these detachments will encapsulate the style of warfare of these chapters, but be playable in any chapter. So you're not locked into playing a particular detachment if you're playing a specific chapter. So you are going to be able to build themed armies around the style of fighting of a specific Space Marine army, but you still have a lot of tactical options if you want to specialize into a particular type of company. So a close-range shooting-oriented detachment for something like Salamanders, a sneakier detachment for Raven Guard, a more aggressive-oriented detachment for White Scars, and a vehicle-focused detachment for Iron Hands, as well as the Gladius Task Force, which is a well-rounded detachment. And if what we've seen with the Tyranid Codex holds true for the Space Marine one, Gladius Task Force will most likely be unchanged from its index version moving into the Codex version. So if you've grown used to using the abilities from Gladius Task Force, it is likely that you will not have to significantly change your game plan. On top of that, we are also getting that First Company Strike Force detachment, which was actually spoiled way back at the beginning of the edition. We got a little bit of information about that, but not really too much. And that is one more heavily focused on elite units like Terminators and veteran squads. Super exciting to see what these detachments do specifically, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of spoilers as the Tyranid hype dies down a little bit. But with that, those are all of the releases for Warhammer 40k from the Nova Open keynote. We did have a little bit of a spook there with the Fulgrim announcement for Horus Heresy. They kind of got us a little bit. Oh my god, dude. Oh, it's for Horus Heresy. Just kidding. I take it all back. They fucking got us, bro. They got us so hard. I saved $100 getting into Disney World because I got to ride a roller coaster for free right here. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about these new reveals. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and Have happy wargaming.